Welcome back to the Sensory Play Space podcast. I'm your host, Uni, and today I want to talk about connection. I want to talk about codependency in love. I wrote it down because it came to me so potently. And then I spent some time just grounding in to prepare to see if I can articulate some thoughts to you tonight, and completely lost the foundation of what I want to share, what's on my heart. But tonight I want to talk about codependency in love. I've been feeling so much. Last fall, my heart really opened, in a way that I don't know if it ever has before. I felt it in my chest, and then I felt it in my pelvic floor. And that sounds wild and it feels wild, and I still don't quite have the words to articulate in a way that I can make it explainable for someone outside of me. I think that probably many of us have experiences like this, and whenever they come up, that's it. It's just something that is and exists for us individually that transforms who we are and how we're living and what life is. And that happened for me last fall. At this point, I've been intentionally strength and mobility training in a way to strengthen my ability to be mobile for almost a year. July will be 1 year that I started working with a trainer and a coach. This month, last May, I joined my gym as a dedication to myself to really get serious about my life. That was a big statement for me last year. I'm ready to get serious about my life. I'm ready to get serious about my life. And I really started dissecting how I was spending my time and how I was just depleting myself for others. How at that moment, I had this visibility that for me, love had no boundaries, which meant I just I ripped myself apart, fully draining myself so I can proclaim love as a declaration of how I was loving. And it reached its capacity of sustainability. I couldn't give anymore. And it sounds it doesn't sound fitting to the typical stories of why people start working out and how they start transforming their bodies and their lives through fitness. But for me, it was this necessity because I'd become so sick of myself. And I was in so much pain, not only emotionally and mentally, but also physically. My body was wrecked. And so that year in January, I committed to eating consistently, morning, daytime, evening, and really committing to eating in this way that mimicked parts of the keto diet. And I got this just this hit for this from a podcast that I'd listened to by Mel Robbins. At that moment, around this time last year, her podcast was really saving me. It was bringing me into and through a transition, like a really important transition in my life. And so I started eating a lot of fats, just eating as much as I could without overeating, but a significant amount more than I had been eating because I was really depressed for the last year and a half. And I started going to the gym a few times a week and just moving my body. And I started doing ClassPass and going to yoga a few times a week and just moving my body. And it really flipped a switch. It really planted the seed and laid a foundation for that message, that mantra that I was dedicated to in that moment of I want to be really I want to get really serious about my life. And I think that was really my foundation for doing so. And it wasn't coming from a place of really being sick of my body, because I've been sick of my body most of my life. But it came from a place of feeling like this was the only thing that was really going to save me. And by save me, I mean shift me into a different way of existing that I could, for more than a short period of time, be happy with living within. Because the last the previous few years, I was so miserable. I experienced a lot of moments of joy and pleasure, so much joy and so much pleasure in the moments, but always lingering and lulling underneath was this aching and this discomfort. And so just really being able to take the space and time to let myself figure out how to nourish myself, not from a place of obligation because I'm supposed to, not from a place of fearing the repercussions of not doing it, but from a place of I need to, I can't get away from caring for myself. I can't get away from it anymore. I reached my max. And so that was the only thing that I could really commit to, was just nourishing myself in every single moment that I could. It started with just eating and then eating high fat and high protein. I started eating so much protein. And then moving my body. And then in July, I hired my trainer, because in April, I had this piercing vision. I had a focus, and I was I see something that can get me out of the shit that I'm in right now. And I reached out to a friend who I've worked with and for in a variety of ways over the last 6-8 years. And, I was I want to work with you. I want to work for you. I want to grow with you. I want to help you grow. And she brought me on, and my financial situation really shifted in a way that made that point that I mentioned of I want to get really serious about my life, and I need to nourish myself. Beginning working with her and moving into that and accepting it and determining and deciding that that's what I was going to do really gave me the tools to do just that, to get serious about my life and to nourish myself. And by July, I had the ability to do some healing work. I did some really healing breath work with one of my then teachers and now friends that really transformed me and really unlocked some blocks that I'd been just really like sitting with. And then I started working with my trainer, my personal trainer and coach, and moving towards my initial goal was that I really wanted to do a pull-up because I like being able to move my body. And I've always wanted to do a pull-up and I've never been able to accomplish it. And so we started with that. That was the foundation. And fast forwarding like to now, like my body has transformed significantly in strength and shape and size and functionality and mobility, even in the confidence that it holds, even in the moments that I'm feeling so much insecurity. And it's just been really fascinating because through all of this, like I'm doing a lot of really basic things. A lot of really boring things, to be honest. I'm eating really boring food. I'm moving similarly day to day to day. I'm working for money because capitalism. I'm just thinking more than I'm doing. The things that I think excite me. I'm just living a typical life. But part of this process has been clearing and shedding all the ways that I have loved everything outside of me more than I've loved myself. It's really held this like really fucking bright, powerful, penetrative mirror to me that's really been like a big, I'm just going to say it, what it feels like. It's really been a big fuck you to me and reveal of how deep my codependency has existed and how much it has navigated the way in which I give and receive and exchange love. And I was sitting here tonight just thinking about 8 million different things because my mind is going wild right now. There's so much happening inside of me in these really beautiful ways that I don't think I've experienced before, not like this at least. But I was sitting here thinking about journaling in my like physical notebook, which is one of my forms of therapy. It's very therapeutic for me. It gives me a space to like really work through stuff before and between my sessions and between therapy and all this stuff. But I was thinking about that, thinking about how I wanted to spend my evening, and it came to me like this, like these sentences. So I wanted to share them with you. I just shared them on the notes on Substack, but that kind of just gave me this like place of like, I want to just spend some time with this and I want to share that with you. So I was just thinking about the fact that I've lived so many people's lives. I've lived so many people's lives. So many people's lives that like, I don't know if I've ever really lived my own. I think I can pinpoint brief periods that I like found a footing, like took a leap of faith and like moved towards something that was like really authentically, deeply, personally true for me. But so much of my experience that I've lived in this lifetime has been other people's lives. It has been building and shaping and amplifying other people's lives. So much so that like I've spent a good amount of time not even knowing what was my own. And I didn't really realize that until more recently. I think it started really coming to surface this time last year whenever I started getting serious about my physical body and finding some sense of whatever I was looking for. I don't even know. But I think that that's whenever I really started to see it. And I didn't know what it was. And I think even in this moment, as I'm like just sharing this like mind stream with you, like it's coming to surface even more. But I was thinking, and what I wrote in my note on Substack is, I've lived so many people's lives. A commitment to intimacy is the only medicine to give me healing in a way that evokes courage to discover and claim my own. And that feels so true for me right now. Because I think that like I've been like straddling these like this confidence and this insecurity about what I'm doing here. About the way that I keep insistently coming back to intimacy in a way that feels obsessive and a little bit erratic and sends me in this way of really questioning, like, what am I doing? What am I thinking? Where's this coming from? But I think that like what I've discovered over the last few years, but really over this last year of like being like, I don't know what's happening, but I gotta get serious about my life. And I'm just gonna start piecing that together bit by bit. What that really like helped me see is how much intimacy is needed to heal. How much intimacy is needed to heal. And I'm not talking about intimacy from someone else or between two people. That is a part of it, yes. And it is a very important part of it. But I'm really talking about the intimacy that exists deep inside of ourselves, that exists purely for ourselves. Like the intimacy that reveals all the layers of ourselves to us in a way that we can't escape, that we can't hide from, and that we can't really hide from anyone else who's paying attention. Intimacy really has been showing me how deeply ingrained codependency and love are for me. Not as a way of like shame, but really seeing how and in so many layers of love I hold and what that means for me. And a lot of what's been happening for me hasn't been current behaviors. It's been a lot of moments of reflecting on the past and coming back to the present for data. Like I feel like my life is a research lab. Like in every moment that I meet something new right now, it's giving me this like this visibility of something that has happened before that I can compare and contrast where I'm at, where I was, what is true for me now, what was untrue for me in that moment, but I didn't see it or honor it, and how I want to exist and deepen more into myself. The more I discover, the more things that I have to compare, like past to present to, the more I want to and commit to deepening into myself. And that feels scary. That feels really scary, especially for someone who has known so much of their life, lived through other people's lenses. Because what is happening for me is this deepening into myself in a way that like is only available through intimacy. It's only available because I'm just unapologetically, mostly, just shedding parts of me and seeing what happens. And I think that that's the thing that I'm learning and like refining about intimacy specifically, is that it is an unknown. It's undetermined. There is no true sense of control. Like, we can create intentions, we can be intentional, we can have desires, we can set, we can discover and uncover what we need. But like, it's not controllable, it's not containable. It's unpredictable, because I think that intimacy comes from a navigation point of deep truths. And deep truths are not dependent on anything other than that. And there's a separation between this like deep truths and the self-sufficiency that deep truths hold, and codependency. And so I think that like what I'm discovering and the current like experimentations that I'm within is, what is love without codependency? What is my way of loving when I love myself the most and just invite someone to stand alongside me, versus loving someone so deeply that there's nothing left to give to me for myself. Like I'm depleted, but also there's no room for someone else to give to me. There's no room for me to receive. So I'm really looking at, and I've been in this experimentation since I returned to dating last August, because I had taken a pause in April whenever I like had a moment of like just meeting a trigger that I didn't expect from a casual connection. I took a pause after that, and this was also part of the like activator for my like gym and workout and that like getting serious about my life. But when I returned to dating in August of last year, I really had this like promise to myself that I was going to figure out how to separate codependency and love in my own story, in my blueprint, in my makeup, in the way that I am designed and am designing relationship and intimacy and connection in my own life. And what I want to like acknowledge for myself, for my own affirmation, and as a mirror to anyone else who needs to hear this, is that change happens over time. I'm not the only person to ever have said that. I've heard this so many fucking times. And I'm like, yeah. It makes so much sense. But I'm realizing, and I've talked about this in other spaces in different ways, is like there's the knowing of the mind, which is like the logic. Things are logical. Yes, of course, it makes sense that change happens over time. I can like put that into a scientific explanation. But like, there's the knowing that exists within the body. The embodiment of knowing is where true change starts to happen. And so I started this experiment, really started it last August. I think I was working on it before, but I can't really identify when I began. But I know clearly last August because I was connecting with someone that I thought I really liked. I thought we had a connection, and we did. I mean, I believe that like I'm not wrong about those things. It frequently happens that the depth of connection that I feel or that I'm opening up towards or that is available is not in alignment with who I'm sharing the opportunity with, because of a multitude of things. One being like we're just not in the same place at the same moment of time. But I had this connection, and there was deep possibility for depth, for longevity, for exploration, for growth, for like really intimate connection. And this person pulled away, like they pulled away pretty quickly. And that was a moment that like I could have followed, which is my like codependent response to like validate and prove that I'm worthy of love. And I laugh because it's silly, but it's so true and it's so common. And I want to be soft with myself about that. But I'm not there yet fully. I work on this in therapy. But yeah, like that relationship was a space to play, right? Like it was a place, and I call it a relationship because it was a connection that I was relating within. So either way, a relationship, a connection, whatever word floats your boat, whatever feels like appropriate to you, like insert that here. But nonetheless, like it was a space to play. And I think that was like a big shift for me in awareness with myself that really gave me like the first step forward to shifting the way that like I'm embodying and expressing and letting like codependency and the entanglement of codependency with love lead the way that I build and experience relationships and connections and intimacy. And so I think that what I'm like pondering is this like liminal space that I'm existing within as I am no longer fully in this like range of living my life so codependently and really living other people's lives instead of my own. In a way that like I'm peeling back layers of myself that are so magical. They're so magical because every like every layer that's peeled back, like I'm discovering something new about me. And this is what I mean whenever I say the commitment to intimacy has been the only medicine that's given me healing, and that's given me the courage to discover and claim my own life. And that feels deeply true for me. So whenever I talk about intimacy and I talk about relationship and I talk about love, this is entangled within that. This is a core seed, like a core foundational like principle behind what I'm sharing with you and how I'm designing and building my own blueprint and the guidance towards unfolding whatever your like thing is that works best for you. Like that to me is really what intimacy is. And that's what really exists for all of us. But it can't exist when we're entangled in these ways that are codependent for the sake of love, for the sake of outsourcing love, really. I just keep thinking about the ways that we shape ourselves so that we can fit into someone else's mold of who we are. And I can say that as a we with confidence because I witness everyone do this day to day to day. So this is not something that is exclusive to me because codependency has been such a like navigation point for me for so long. I think that it is something that most, if not all, people journey through. The length of time that we spend in there, like, I don't know, that's individual. But the way that we start to acknowledge and accept and surrender to the like insatiable aching to know more and feel more and to go deeper is like the greatest expression of intimacy. This is where it lies. Because all the things that we do to experience it, building relationships, having conversations, creating, exploring, experimenting, all of that is to nourish and nurture and nourish and feed that deep, deep craving. And that is it. That's it. I think it's like as complex and as simple as that. I think that that's it. That's what we're seeking. That's what we're experimenting to create and to discover and to unfold and to like claim as our own. And in the like trying that we do over and over and over and over again. It's the way that we continue to return to ourselves, and the way that we soften in that knowing of ourselves that builds the way that we understand and explore and express and share and open towards intimacy. And that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing here. I'm just doing this exact thing. Opening and experimenting and exploring intimacy. And I'm sharing with you whatever comes up for me that feels authentic to share. And that feels like something that you are ready to see. Because I think that is a gift and a caution for me, is sharing the things that others are ready to receive in a way that they can absorb and turn into their own medicine. So this was a big mind spin. I'm really playing with my creative energy and giving myself permission to feel unhinged, because quite honestly, talking out loud to myself and pretending that I'm talking to you makes me feel a little kooky. But the more that I've been doing it, I've spent the last week plus working on really putting together and refining and expanding the practices and the content that exist within the 21 days of intimacy lab that I just put out. It's been really just really fun and funny to experiment and explore with just this monologue aspect of life. And I've been so resistant to all of this, to really focusing on the podcast, to sharing the things that are like the nuggets within the podcast, to playing the games of social media, blah, 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 because it's been so stifling to my creative energy. I've felt so uncreative trying to play within the systems. But what I've been having fun with over the last few weeks is just giving myself space to be messy in this and being fuck it. Because maybe 10 people are listening, maybe no one's listening, maybe everyone's judging, but I know for a fact that at least the people that choose to say anything, those of you out there listening and reading and watching the videos, whatever, you're doing it and you're finding something that you need within it, because you keep coming back, you choose to comment, you choose to share. And so even if it's only 1 or 2 or 5 of you, thank you for being in this creative energy and exploration and messy liminal space with me. Because I think that that's what I really want to commit my own intimacy practice and blueprint design to this summer, is giving myself the permission to create and to play in really unhinged ways, and share that with you and see what we discover and find and unfold. So, okay. I'm going to end us for tonight, but thank you for just kind of journeying with me. I hope you got something out of this, and I hope that whatever it is brings you closer to what you really desire and what brings you pleasure.